Hello students, in our series of class 9's one-shot videos of English subject, today I have two chapters for you from our book Moments. As Moments is our supplementary book, so the two topics are The Happy Prince and The Last Leaf. So let's start with The Happy Prince. So the summary of this story of this chapter is: there is a statue of Prince is installed at the top of a tall column in the city. He was a real prince at one time. He was happy when alive because he was kept ignorant of any sadness or suffering outside his palace. His life was one of joy and fulfilled desires. Upon his death, a statue was made depicting him, which was covered in gold, had beautiful sapphires for eyes, and had a ruby attached to the handle of his sword. Because of the value society places on gold and jewels, he was thought to be quite beautiful. Useless remarked a town councillor, but beautiful. We will come to know that why he was called useless by the town councillor. He is adored by all who see him. Unfortunately for the statue, his placement atop a high hill allows him to witness for the first time the pain and misery experienced by the poor of the city, of whom he had remained ignorant when alive, like seamstress, the playwright, the match girl, and little poor children. Many were there in the city who were deprived and who were poor. The statue, once happy, now weeps with sadness to see the plight of so many who have so little. A self-serving swallow bird on its annual winter migration to Egypt arrives to take overnight shelter beneath this statue and eventually becomes affected with gratitude by the statue's kindness and desire to help others. The swallow becomes the statue's messenger and agrees to remove the jewels and the gold from it on the prince's commands to bring contentment, means satisfaction, badly needed financially, security and compassion to the needy people seen by the prince. These needy people include: who were the needy people? A seamstress who has no money to feed her ill child, who is given the ruby. A young man who is too poor to buy coal for his fireplace in the winter, who is given a sapphire from his eye. A poor young girl who is barefoot and without a covering for the head in winter, who is given the other sapphire. And many poor and starving people who were given parts of the gold leaf covering the prince's statue. The swallow acts as a messenger of the prince to carry the jewels and gold to these needy people. As the statue's gold and jewels are taken and distributed among the poor, the prince is no longer able to see the impoverished people around him as his eyes have been removed. He knows that poverty is there and he is not blind to the sufferings of others, as he once was. Even without eyes to see, he knows that poverty exists. Eventually, as winter comes and it starts snowing, the swallow lies at the feet of the statue and dies from exposure to the acute cold and exhaustion, means tired. He could never reach Egypt because he exchanged his dream of a warm climate and comfort with a bigger dream to bring help to those who are in need. The heart of the sculptor cracks with sadness at the loss of his friend, the swallow. The most beautiful part of the statue, the kind and giving heart could not be seen from the outside. Upon seeing the statue in such despair, the powerful people of the city, the town councillors and the mayor decide that he is no longer useful because he is no longer beautiful, much like the poor who were exploited and tossed away by the rich, the statue is taken down. When the statue is melted in a furnace, the broken heart made of lead does not melt. It is thrown away onto a dust heap where the dead swallow also lay. God asked for one of his angels to bring him the two most precious things in the city. The angel brought leaden heart of the happy prince and the dead swallow. God praised the choice of angel. God said that the little bird would sing forever in his garden of paradise, and the happy prince would praise him forever in his city of gold. So this was the summary of the chapter where the statue of the happy prince is helping poor and needy in his town with the help of swallow. He was covered with gold, ruby, sapphires, and with all these jewels he helped the whole city, the whole town. And finally, there was no gold, there was no jewel in the statue, and the bird could not go to Egypt. And finally, the bird died and the statue of the prince broke. The heart of the prince, the leaden heart of the prince broke. And God asked the angel to bring two most precious things from earth, and the angel brought the broken heart of the prince and the dead body of the swallow, and they were placed in the garden of heaven. So this was the beautiful story we have had as summary. Now let's see multiple choice questions, short answer questions and long answer questions. We are going to have a glimpse towards multiple choice questions first. So I have selected some multiple choice questions for you, like the statue of the happy prince was covered with the layer of options: gold, brass, silver, diamond. So here correct answer is gold. The body was covered with gold, means golden leaves. The poor woman was embroidering dash on a satin gown. The seamstress, what was the seamstress? Was embroidering teddy, flowers, leaves, human figure. So she was embroidering flowers. The poor woman was making nightgown for queen's maid, herself, queen, daughter. Here students get confused between these two options queen and queen's maid. So here the answer is queen's maid, not the queen. So correct answer is queen's maid. Question number 4. The color of the hair of the poor writer was black, white, brown, grey. So here correct answer is brown. Option C. So in this manner multiple choice questions can be asked from any chapter. Now we have some more questions, like in the third stage the little swallow was asked to help the magical, poor lady, sailors, the writer. So we have to say about the third stage. So the correct answer here is magical. Firstly, the swallow and the prince helped the seamstress, and at second time they helped the playwright, and the third time they helped the magical. So here the correct answer is magical. So we have to learn, we have to keep in mind whom they both helped in correct order. The little swallow finally went to the Egypt, chimney hall, city of sorrow, house of death. So as we know that the little swallow could not go to Egypt, he finally died. So the correct answer is house of death, option D. The angel brought two most precious things of the city for God, and they were, what two things the angel brought in front of God? So options are heart of the prince and dead swallow, ruby and sapphire, food grain and water, gold and silver. So here correct option is A, heart of the prince and dead swallow, who were placed in the garden of heaven. Now we have short answer questions. As we know that short answer questions, each short answer question has weightage of 3 marks. So here I have some questions for you, like what filled the happy prince's eyes with tears? So first of all, I want to tell you one thing, that try to know the sense of the question. Maybe we misunderstood the question and we write some other answer. So first you should try to sense the question, what the examiner want to ask. So here we know the prince's eyes were in tears because of the sorrow and sufferings of the city. So we will write the answer in that manner. When he was alive, the happy prince never had any tears in his eyes because he lived in a palace far from where he could see the misery of the people. After death, his courtiers set his statue on a high column from where he could see all the ugliness and the misery of the city. This made the happy prince's eyes filled with tears. Question number 2. Why was the seamstress distressed? So seamstress was stressed because she was poor and she was not able to arrange food for her baby, and she was to complete the work of embroidering the flowers in the satin gown, because the ball dance was very near, it was coming soon. So she was to complete the dress within the given time limit. The seamstress was distressed because she had to complete a dress, but her son was sick. She was very exhausted due to lack of food, and as she had no money to buy food. Apart from that, she had to complete a dress that belonged to queen's maid. The swallow and the prince were alike in many ways. Justify. Both were good living beings, and both of them sacrificed their lives to help the needy. So these are the highlights of the main features, the same main features of both. Both the swallow and the prince were very kind and full of sympathy for the poor and suffering people. Both gave everything they had. The swallow gave his own life in carrying out all the errands commanded by the prince, and the prince gave all his valuable parts to help the needy people. Thus, they were alike in many ways. We should also remember that these type of questions can be asked in long answer questions also. So we should know that how to answer the same question in short manner, in long manner. What is the moral of the story The Happy Prince? What do we come to learn through this story? So the moral of the story The Happy Prince is that we must help the poor and the needy. The prince set an example by giving away his jewels and gold cover to the poor, while the swallow helped him in his task, also sacrificing his life in the process. So these are the short answer questions. You should plan your answer before starting writing the answer. First plan that what you are going to write for some seconds, plan it, and then start writing. It will be helpful to write a clear and good answer. Now we have long answer questions. So the first question is, you are to write long answer questions in 100 to 120 words. So the first question is, why does the Happy Prince want to part with all the gold and precious stones he had? or he has. So why does he want to do so? When the happy prince was alive, he had never seen what poverty and sadness is. After his death, his statue was put high on a pedestal from where he could see the city life very well. He would see the poor people and the ones who were deprived of the joy of life. He understood that they would be contented with the material prosperity. When the happy prince saw the pale faces of hungry children, realized the pain of homeless and shelterless people, as well as the misery and suffering in his city after his death. He was greatly moved and wanted to help the needy. As he could not move being a statue, he tried to improve their living conditions by giving away all the gold and precious stones he had by asking the swallow to carry these to the people who needed them. He took help of the swallow to help the needy, and he helped the needy by using the sapphires, the ruby and the gold leaves over his body. Now, the second long answer question is, how did swallow prove to be the happy prince's true friend? Or how did the little swallow carry out the wishes of the happy prince? Means how the swallow helped the happy prince. So, the little swallow was one of the most valuable soul found on the earth. He sacrificed his life for the sake of the virtues. He helped the prince in all the way he could. He was the messenger for the prince and contributed equally in the well-being of the poor and deprived people of the city. The happy prince alone would not be able to do the good deeds but for the little swallow. The two were the combined good doer. The swallow proved to be the happy prince's true friend by carrying out all his commands to help the poor and needy in the city. So instead of migrating to Egypt as he had planned earlier, he decided to stay with the prince to help him by carrying out his wishes. He agrees to remove the jewels and gold from the statue of the happy prince on his commands by sacrificing his life. Due to the intense cold, the swallow proved to be the happy prince's true friend. So in this manner he helped the happy prince. He postponed his plan going to Egypt, and at the end of the chapter almost he sacrificed his life for his friend the prince and for the whole town. So in this manner he helped the happy prince. So in this manner we have had the summary of this chapter, the happy prince. We have also talked about multiple choice questions, short answer questions and long answer questions. Now we are starting our second chapter, the last leaf. It is also from our book Moments and it is also a story. So as before, we are having the summary of this story. Sue and Johnsy are two friends who live in a small flat on the third floor of an old building. They are artists and make paintings for living. Once Johnsy falls ill of pneumonia. She keeps looking out of the window, and while lying on the bed, she thinks that she is going to die. She became negative and thought that she is going to die. Although the doctor comes every day, but the condition of Johnsy does not change. One day, the doctor asks Sue if anything is bothering Johnsy. The doctor tells her that it is difficult for Johnsy to get well as she has made up her mind that she will not get well. He also tells her that in this case, the medicines will not help her. Sue tries her best to make Johnsy interested in things. She talks about clothes and fashion, but Johnsy does not respond. She brings her drawing board in her room and starts to paint, but Johnsy does not look at her. She also starts whistling while working, but Johnsy just does not notice and keeps lying still looking outside the window. While trying to get Johnsy's attention, Sue notices that she is counting backwards. She becomes to know that Johnsy is counting the remaining leaves that are on the ivy creeper outside the window. Johnsy tells her that the leaves are falling rapidly in the autumn season. She also informs her that she would die once the last leaf falls from the creeper. She tries to convince Johnsy that she is foolish in thinking that she would die with the falling of the last leaf of the ivy creeper. She even lies to her that the doctor is confident that she would get well soon. But Johnsy does not change her mind and keeps on counting the remaining leaves on the creeper. A neighbor named Berman arrives at their home. He gets to know about Johnsy's condition and sees that there is only one leaf remaining on the creeper which could fall anytime. He goes back to his house and paints a leaf that looks identical to the creeper's leaf and sticks it on the creeper while Johnsy is sleeping. In the process of doing so, he gets wet as it is raining heavily and it was icy cold. He falls sick and gets pneumonia. Johnsy keeps looking out of the window and notices that the last leaf is not falling. Even wind and the rain do not make the leaf fall. She realizes that she was wrong in supposing that she would die with the falling of the last leaf and starts getting well. Now she is getting positivity. When Johnsy gets well, Sue tells her the mystery of the last leaf. She informs her that she has got well due to the efforts of Berman. Berman, looking at Johnsy's condition, did a wonderful thing. He painted a similar leaf of ivy creeper, used a lantern and ladder and pasted it on ivy creeper. It was raining heavily and he got wet completely. He was struck with pneumonia and died after 2 days. Berman had painted a masterpiece, a leaf that looked identical to the leaf on the ivy creeper. And in the process of helping her, he had fallen ill and died. So this was the story where we have found that Johnsy had negativity. She thought that with the falling of last leaf, she will lose her life. But with the help of Berman, Sue became successful in saving Johnsy's life because Berman pasted a painting of the leaf, of the same leaf in the stormy and heavy rain. And due to that, Berman got pneumonia and died. But seeing the last leaf that was not falling, Johnsy got positivity in her thoughts and she compared that if the last leaf is not falling because of this storm, because of the heavy rain, then why she is becoming so weak? She would also get recovered from the pneumonia and she can live. She will not die. So in this manner, Berman and Sue became successful in saving Johnsy's life, but Berman lost his life in this process. So this was the summary of this chapter, and now we will have multiple choice questions, short answer questions and long answer questions. So first we are having multiple choice questions. First question: Johnsy was suffering from malaria, dengue, diarrhea or pneumonia? So the correct answer is option D, pneumonia. Johnsy was counting the falling leaves from the dash tree outside the window. What type of tree it was? Ivy creeper, jamun, money plant or mayflower? So the correct answer, it was a creeper. It was an ivy creeper. It was A/N dash season then. What season was that at that time? winter, summer, autumn or spring? So the correct answer is autumn season, as the leaves were falling from the trees. Sue decided to call Dash to make her model. Burman, Irfan, Aslam or Bahram? So here correct answer is Burman. Now, what is the mean by janitor? What do you mean by janitor? Caretaker of a building, cook, male horse, servant. So here janitor is caretaker of a building. In this story, first the janitor saw the dead body of Burman. Number 6. Dash was the masterpiece of Burman. Burman wished that he make a masterpiece. So what was the masterpiece he was successful in making? Painting of Winter Eve, painting of Johnsy, painting of Ivy Tree or painting of Last Leaf? So the correct answer, as you know, option D, painting of Last Leaf. Now we have short answer questions. Short answer questions that you are to answer in 40 to 50 words. So here the first question is, describe the things Sue did to make Johnsy interested. Johnsy was in negativity, so what did Sue tried to make her normal? So Sue tried her best to make Johnsy take an interest in things. She talked about clothes and fashions. She started painting in Johnsy's room, saw that she notices her and even whistled while painting to grab her attention. So Sue was a very good friend of Johnsy, who was trying each and everything to make Johnsy normal. Describe the strange supposition of Johnsy. What was the strange supposition? Johnsy kept on counting the remaining leaves on the ivy creeper outside her window. She supposed that she would die once the last leaf on the creeper would fall. It was a very stupid idea and she must not have thought so. She was ill, she had pneumonia, and in those days she was in negativity and she was looking outside the window and she thought that when the last leaf would fall, she would also die. So that was her stupidity. That was the strange supposition of her. What made Johnsy change her mind? How she became able to get rid of her negativity? So Johnsy was certain that the last leaf from the ivy creeper outside her window would fall soon. When the last leaf did not fall in the storm and the fierce winds, Johnsy changed her mind. She came out of depression and started her interest in her life. So with the help of the masterpiece of Burman, she became able to change her mind. Now the next question of our short answer question series, how did Burman save Johnsy's life? So as we know, Burman saved Johnsy's life by painting a leaf that looked identical to the last leaf on the ivy creeper. He tied the leaf to the creeper. The leaf staying intact on the creeper in spite of fierce winds and storm led Johnsy to change her mind and save herself. So in this manner she saved herself. So these were short answer questions. Now we are moving to long answer questions that you are to answer in 100 to 120 words. So as we have the first question, what was troubling Johnsy and how did she get well? So Johnsy was suffering from pneumonia. It was accompanied by high fever. Apart from this ailment, she was depressed and had lost hope for living. She thought that she would die as soon as the last leaf from the ivy creeper outside her window would fall. Sue called the doctor so that Johnsy could be treated. Although the doctor came regularly for her checkup and gave her medicines, he was doubtful about her getting well, as she didn't want to live. Sue came to know about Johnson's strange supposition and tried her best so that she can get rid of her nonsensical belief. But Johnson did not want to change. When she observed that the last leaf was intact despite strong winds and storm, she realized that it is a sin to want to die. This led her to think positive and get well. After that, she came back to life. So this was the answer to this question. What was troubling Johnsy and how did she get well? Now the second question. Berman's visit to Sue's flat was a blessing in disguise for Johnsy. Justify above statement. So first of all, as I said to you that we are to sense the question, we are to observe, we are to grab that what the examiner, what the question want to ask to us, what it wants to make us write. So for this we have to grab the correct sense of the question. Like in this question, the statement is Berman's visit to Sue's flat was a blessing in disguise for Johnsy. Means it was a false statement of Sue that he had come to check the paintings of Sue, but actually he was here to see Johnsy's condition, and at that time, at the point of time, he decided to make the masterpiece, the false leaf of the ivy creeper, so he and Sue can save the life of Johnsy. So how would we write this answer? Sue got a small painting project in which she was to paint an old miner. She pondered for a while whom to make the role model, and she thought of Mr. Berman. Sue called Berman to her flat as she wanted him to be her model so that she could paint the picture of an old miner. When he came, he told him about Johnsy's illness and the fact that Johnsy believed that she would die when the last leaf from the ivy creeper would fall. When Berman came to her flat, he was the pitiable condition of Johnsy. He saw the pitiable condition of Johnsy. He didn't say a word and went back to his room. He painted a leaf similar to the ivy creeper's leaf and took a ladder and tied that leaf to the creeper. While Johnsy was sleeping, when Johnsy noticed that the leaf has not fallen in the harsh winds, she realized that it was a sin to want to die. From then onwards, she hoped to get well, which eventually saved her life. Hence, we can say that Berman's visit to Sue's flat was a blessing in disguise for Johnsy. So in this manner, we have looked the multiple choice questions, short answer questions and long answer questions of this chapter, The Last Leaf. So the Happy Prince and The Last Leaf has been cleared to you in the best manner. Hope you have understood the summary of both the chapters, and you are also getting that how the multiple choice questions, short answer questions and long answer questions from both the chapters can be asked. So hope you have got all the things. Thank you very much.